The Monte Cristo Homestead stands on a hill. Quiet, regal, untouched, or so it appears. By day, sunlight reflects off its weathered timber. By night, shadows curl along the hallways, thick and suffocating, stretching where no light reaches. To the casual observer, it is a stately old house. But the walls breathe, the floors remember, and the air whispers, constantly, of grief and violence. Monte Cristo was built in 1885 by the Rill family, a family of wealth, influence, and ambition. The house was designed to impress, but ambition has a cost. Within its walls, tragedy began almost immediately. Children fell ill, deaths occurred suddenly, servants vanished from sight, and the first whispers of the house's presence began. Guests would wake in the middle of the night, feeling cold air sweep through rooms with no windows open. Chairs would shift slightly, as if someone unseen had moved them. Footsteps echoed when no one walked the floors. And always, faintly, children cried. Some dismissed it as the house settling. Others refused to sleep there. The first violent death recorded inside Monte Cristo would change the home forever. A servant fell down the grand staircase. Some claimed it was an accident. Others whispered that something pushed her, that the house itself had decided to remind them of the shadows that lingered. Soon after, the governess hanged herself in the attic. Her life ended in despair, and her spirit remained tethered to the house. Visitors report her presence to this day. Footsteps pacing the upper hallways at night, a sudden chill in the air, the unmistakable feeling of being watched. By the 1920s, Monte Cristo's reputation as a haunted house had begun to spread. Staff refused night shifts, claiming the house was alive after dark. Locals told stories of shadows darting past windows, of doors opening and closing by themselves. Even the garden was not safe. Flowers trampled, chairs rearranged, and faint laughter carried on the wind. The house, it seemed, had its own will. It responded to the living. It reacted to presence. And it remembered every tragedy. Children's voices dominate the modern narrative. Whispers of play, cries in the dead of night, calling names that no one alive remembers. Guests report sudden drops in temperature, cold pockets that chill to the bone, striking only in the hallways where tragedy had struck before. Some visitors feel themselves pushed, sometimes lightly, sometimes with alarming force. Others report doors slamming just behind them, even when no one is there. Monte Cristo Homestead does not discriminate. Anyone entering becomes part of its story. The Riddle family themselves were not spared from tragedy. Generations of deaths and despair stacked atop one another, binding the house ever tighter to the spirits trapped within. Each violent death added weight to the air, thickened the shadows, sharpened the whispers. By the mid-20th century, Monte Cristo was infamous across Australia. Paranormal investigators traveled hundreds of miles to record evidence. Cameras captured shadows moving in impossible ways. Audio recordings picked up faint crying and whispers. Temperature readings dropped drastically in specific rooms. Guests were pushed, objects moved, and children's laughter, followed by sudden sobs, could be heard echoing in hallways. Even now, Monte Cristo is alive, not in the way of a living being. Alive in memory, in pain, in history. Its floors, ceilings, and walls are reservoirs of anguish. The house reacts. It notices. It remembers. Visitors say it feels as if unseen eyes follow them. Steps echo where no one walks. A gentle breeze, chilling and unwelcome, brushes across the skin. Chairs scrape across floors with no visible cause. Doors slam just behind them. Shadows dart across walls and vanish before being seen clearly. The house is patient. The house is clever. And the house waits. PAR-22. The walls of Monte Cristo have seen death. Not the quiet passing of age or illness, but violent, sudden, and horrifying deaths. Every corner of this house seems to vibrate with the energy of suffering. Guests who step inside report an immediate heaviness. Some call it a feeling of being watched. Others describe a suffocating sensation, as though invisible hands press against their chests. The Riddle family itself was no stranger to tragedy. Children fell ill unexpectedly. Household staff vanished without explanation. And in the attic, the governess body swung silently from a rope, a stark reminder that despair can linger, tethering the soul to a place forever. Visitors report hearing her steps pacing the hallways late at night. Footsteps light, hesitant, then heavier, deliberate. A presence that cannot be seen, but is always felt. By the 1930s, Monte Cristo Homestead's sinister reputation had begun to take hold. Servants refused night shifts. Guests reported objects moving on their own. Chairs slid across floors without touch. The doors opened and slammed on their own accord. Some said the house was angry. Others whispered that it was hungry for attention. One of the most infamous incidents occurred on the grand staircase. A young maid reportedly fell. Some claim she slipped. Others believe something pushed her, an unseen force, perhaps a lingering spirit, asserting itself. Years later, visitors would walk the same staircase and feel the same presence. Cold air would sweep across their shoulders. A chair at the top of the stairs might slide suddenly, almost deliberately. And always, the faint sound of children crying could be heard from the corners of empty rooms. Monte Cristo is alive with sound. Guests report footsteps echoing in empty corridors, whispers calling names no one alive recognizes, laughter turning into sobbing. Rooms that should be still seem to breathe. Shadows dart across the edges of vision, vanishing when confronted. Even the bravest leave unsettled. The house is selective. Not everyone experiences the same phenomena. Some enter and feel nothing. Others experience terror. Paranormal investigators have captured EVPs, whispers that cannot be explained, faint cries of children, voices calling names. Cameras record shadows that do not belong to any living person. Thermometers register sudden drops in temperature, sometimes by as much as 15 degrees, in rooms where violent deaths occurred. The presence of Monte Cristo is not limited to a single era. In the 1940s, a guest reported feeling herself pushed while walking through the dining room. She fell to the ground, certain someone had shoved her. Staff found no one. No explanation. Only the lingering sensation of pressure, an invisible force asserting itself. In the hallways, the crying of children is the most persistent phenomenon. Visitors describe footsteps accompanying the cries. Shadows flit along walls, darting behind furniture. Doors creak open on their own, as if inviting or warning the living. Some swear the cries are coming from the attic, the very room where tragedy struck first. The house is patient. It does not reveal itself all at once. It waits for attention, for curiosity, for those who dare step too far into its halls. And once it notices, Monte Cristo becomes deliberate. A guest may feel a hand brush their shoulder. A chair moves as they approach. A door closes sharply behind them. The air drops cold, dense. Shadows stretch unnaturally. And always, there is the sound of children crying, faint and haunting, calling from nowhere and everywhere at once. By the mid-20th century, Monte Cristo Homestead was infamous across Australia. Stories spread of visitors being pushed, objects moving, children crying, and shadows darting across walls. Paranormal investigators traveled for hundreds of miles, hoping to capture evidence. Some recorded whispers and laughter on tape. Some captured shadows moving unnaturally. Temperature readings dropped drastically in rooms tied to tragedy. Guests and investigators alike reported the same phenomenon. The house reacts to presence, it asserts itself, and it remembers. The house is not just haunted. It lives in memory, in pain, in every violent death, in every sorrowful cry. Every generation that entered became part of its story. Every tragedy added weight to the walls. Every violent act added energy to the air. Monte Cristo Homestead is not a building. It is a vessel of tragedy, a living memory of horror that stretches across centuries. And it waits, patient and deliberate, for those who dare step into its halls. To witness, to experience, to survive. Part 3. Even today, Monte Cristo Homestead exerts its presence. Tours operate daily, drawing visitors from across Australia and beyond. They come for history, for thrill, for the allure of a house with a dark past. But Monte Cristo does not reveal itself to everyone. It is patient, observant, intelligent. Guests report a wide range of experiences, being pushed in empty hallways, sometimes softly, sometimes with alarming force, doors slamming with no breeze, no hand, no explanation. Children's laughter and cries, echoing from rooms long abandoned, shadows moving along corridors, flitting at the edge of vision, vanishing when confronted sudden temperature drops, chilling even the warmest rooms to near freezing. Guides, some of whom have worked here for decades, speak in hushed tones. There are nights, they say, when you can feel it watching you, following you, waiting. Paranormal investigators have spent nights in the homestead, equipped with cameras, EVP recorders, thermal sensors. The results are unsettling. EVPs capture whispers, faint cries, sometimes even names, calling out from empty rooms. Cameras record shadows moving against the grain of the floorboards. Temperature monitors show drops of 15 to 20 degrees in rooms linked to violent deaths. Some investigators report being pushed or grabbed by unseen forces. Others hear the sound of furniture moving in rooms they are certain they have not entered. The most infamous areas are the grand staircase, the attic, and the main hallways. Guests climbing the staircase sometimes feel a sudden shove. Chairs on the landing may tilt or slide as if someone invisible just used them. The attic, the site of the governess' death, is said to carry the heaviest presence. Some who enter feel watched, suffocated, or as though the floor is shifting beneath them. Many visitors have refused to enter after dark. Others leave pale, shaken, and whispering about children crying or unseen hands brushing their skin. One recurring phenomenon, the children's voices. They are heard everywhere, yet nowhere at the same time. Laughter in one room, crying in another. Names are called in accents long forgotten. Some guests have reported seeing shadowy figures of children darting through corridors, vanishing before they could be approached. The voices are persistent. They repeat patterns, as if trapped in loops, reliving moments of sorrow and pain over and over. Monte Cristo Homestead has been the subject of documentaries and paranormal studies, but the activity continues to defy explanation. Some skeptics suggest environmental factors, old plumbing, or drafts. Others claim human imagination or hysteria. Yet, those who have experienced it firsthand describe a force that is deliberate, aware, and intelligent. It reacts to presence. It interacts. It remembers. Visitors report feeling followed. Some feel the invisible press of hands on their shoulders. Others hear whispers in empty rooms, warnings, pleas, or perhaps just the echoes of despair. Objects move without explanation, chairs tilt, doors swing, shadows flit. Even cameras and audio equipment capture phenomena that cannot be dismissed. Shadows, EVP whispers, cold spots, and sudden drops in temperature persist across decades of investigation. Monte Cristo's ghosts are not passive. They are active. They participate in the story of the house, replaying events of tragedy, torment, and death. Shadows of family members, servants, and children are said to linger. Visitors have reported seeing fleeting apparitions, the governess in the attic, children in hallways, and figures standing silently at the top of stairs. And always, there is a sense of being watched. The homestead teaches a chilling lesson. History does not disappear. Every violent death, every tragic accident, every whispered name is preserved. The house amplifies them, reliving moments over and over, embedding them into the walls, the floors, and the air itself. Guests leave shaken. Some laugh nervously. Some are pale and silent. Paranormal investigators often leave exhausted, their recordings filled with voices, whispers, and cold spots that defy explanation. Monte Cristo Homestead is patient. It waits. And it remembers. PART4 Monte Cristo Homestead is more than a house. It is a monument to tragedy, a vessel of suffering, a place where the past refuses to remain silent. Visitors enter seeking history, thrill, or curiosity. But the house always answers in its own way. The legacy of Monte Cristo is written in pain. Every violent death, every sudden tragedy, every tear shed within these walls has left its mark. The governess in the attic, children lost too soon, servants who vanished mysteriously, family members whose lives ended in despair. All of them remain. Some say their spirits are bound here, unable to move on. Others claim that the house itself has absorbed their anguish, amplifying it, reliving it, ensuring no one forgets. Guests continue to report the same chilling phenomena. Shadows darting along walls, vanishing when confronted, cold spots that bite into bone, appearing in rooms linked to historic deaths, unseen hands pressing against visitors, pushing them unexpectedly, children's voices, laughter turning to sobs, cries echoing through empty hallways, furniture moving, doors slamming, whispers that cannot be explained. Even those who claim skepticism leave unsettled. Monte Cristo does not yield to reason. Paranormal investigators from across Australia have tried to capture its secrets. EVPs reveal whispers, commands, and cries. Cameras record shadows that cannot belong to any living being. Thermometers record sudden drops of 15 to 20 degrees. Objects move when no one is near. Every attempt to study the house scientifically only reinforces its presence, its intelligence, its awareness. Monte Cristo does not discriminate. Tourists, staff, paranormal investigators, historians all feel its gaze. All experience its touch, its cold, its whispers. Some report being shoved, stumbling down the staircase. Others hear children crying behind them in empty hallways, only to turn and see nothing. The house is alive with memory. Every tragedy fuels its energy. Every whisper, every shadow, every unexplained event is a thread in its endless story. The most terrifying part, Monte Cristo's activity is relentless and patient. It waits for curiosity. It tests courage. It reminds the living that tragedy is permanent and that some histories do not rest quietly in the past. Visitors have described standing in the main hallway, feeling an invisible weight press against them. Cold air grips their lungs. A faint whisper of a child calling their name. Shadows moving just beyond their vision. And the undeniable sense that the house itself is watching, breathing, judging. Monte Cristo Homestead has been called Australia's most haunted house, and for good reason. It is a living record of violence, grief, and fear. Its legacy stretches beyond the walls, captured in photographs, recordings, and eyewitness testimony. The house continues to test courage, haunt imagination, and terrify anyone who steps through its doors. The Riddle family, long gone, are said to linger still, perhaps bound by tragedy, perhaps by guilt, perhaps simply unwilling to leave the house that consumed their lives. Children's voices echo in the night. Shadows move in impossible patterns. Guests are pushed, chilled, and whispered to. The air is thick with the residue of history, heavy, oppressive, and alive. Monte Cristo does not rest. It does not forgive. It waits. It watches. And if you enter its halls, you may feel the invisible hand. You may hear the children crying. You may see the shadows of the past. And you will understand that Monte Cristo Homestead is not just haunted. It is history, horror, and despair incarnate. It is Australia's most haunted house,